Dear students, last class we have started discussing about XML and web services, and we know that web service is a way of communication and it is a technology. Web service allows us to develop interoperable and distributed applications. Interoperable means the applications that we develop are platform independent and the applications are language independent. So that is actually the interoperability. The applications that are developed with the help of web services are platform independent and it is language independent. And we know that Java is a programming language which is platform independent, but it is not a language independent. Web services are common to all programming languages and technologies. So we can use web services in any programming language and in any technologies. So we can use web services in Java, PHP or .NET or any other programming languages. So web services are required to communicate with the different applications. So if the applications want to communicate with other applications, web services have to be created. So that is the purpose of web services. And XML documents. XML document can contain the elements, attributes and the entity reference. What are elements? Elements are from the beginning tag to the closing tag, including the data. So if you look at here, we have elements like employee, employee number, employee name, salary. So these are all elements. So if you see here, employee number is an element and it has the value, the data 101. That these three, employee number and the data, forms the elements. So if you take any XML document, the XML document will have elements, attributes and the entity references. And what are the attributes? What are the attributes? The attributes are used to provide extra information about the element. So if you look at here, employee is an element, employee number and the name are attributes for this element. So these two attributes, employee number and name, provides additional information to this element employee. So when you give values for the attribute, it should be enclosed with a single quote or double quote. So you can give the values for the attribute with the help of a single quote or you can use double quote. So when you make sure that when you supply values for the attribute, that should be quoted with a single quote or double quote. So this is the introduction part we have seen, and also we have seen the advantages of a XML document we have discussed, and the structure we have seen. Okay, the structure of a XML document we have seen, and the application of the structure conflict in the XML document we have discussed. Okay, this is what we have discussed in the last class, and today we are going to discuss about a D. Okay, we are going to, and thus today we will be discussing about the basic syntax of a DTD, the structure of DTD, DTD elements, the syntax of DTD elements, the types of DTD element rules, and in that we will discuss about a content rule and the basic rule. Document type definition, what it means in the XML. So in the XML you can define the document. So the DTD defines the structure of the XML document. It defines the legal element and the attributes of the XML document. That is the purpose of DTD, just to define the structure of XML document and to identify the legal elements and the attributes of an XML documents. How we can validate the XML document with the help of a DTD. This is what we are going to discuss in this chapter. Okay. So the DTD stands for document type definition. That is the DTD. The DTD allows the XML author, one who creates the XML document, okay, to define a set of rules for XML document to make it valid. So if the XML document is to be valid, so you need to write the DTD. Okay, you need to write the DTD just to validate the XML document. There is another form, schema is there, that we will discuss later. So now we will discuss about a DTD. An XML document is considered as well formed if the document is syntactically correct according to the syntax rule of a XML. So we need to validate this XML document. However, it does not mean that the document is necessarily a valid document. So in order to be considered valid, an XML document must be validated or verified against a DTD. So when you say an XML document is a well-formed document, the XML document must be validated or verified against the DTD. Then the XML document becomes a well-formed XML document. That means the XML document follows the correct syntax rules that is given in the XML version. That is the main purpose of a DTD. So the DTD will define the elements required by the XML document and the elements that are optional. So it defines what are the elements are required and what are the elements are optional. And also this DTD defines the number of time an element should occur and the order in which element should be nested. So when you nest elements in the XML document, how it should be nested, what order the XML document should follow when you are nesting the elements in the XML document. That is the purpose of a DTD. So defines the required element and the optional element and the number of time the element should occur and the order in which the nested element should occur. So that is the purpose of a DTD. Okay. So the DTD markup also defines the type of data will occur in the XML element. It is also used to validate the type of data that the element and the attribute will receive. Okay, that is the purpose. So here DTD will be used to define the type of data occur in the XML element and the attribute that may be associated with those elements. So no undeclared attributes will be allowed and no required attributes may be omitted. So when you use DTD, okay, when you use DTD in the XML document, no declared attributes will be allowed and no required attributes may be omitted. So it takes care of validating the structure as well as the data in the XML file, XML document. And an extra advantage of using DTD in this situation is that a single DTD could be referenced by all the organization's application. So the defined structure of data would be in a centralized resource. So I have a defined centralized data structure that could be referenced by other wings of an organization, which means any changes to the data structure definition would only need to be implemented in one place. So if you want to make changes in the structure, it is enough to do the changes in the centralized resource. All the applications that reference the DTD would automatically use the new and updated structure. So when you want to make changes in the centralized data structure, it is enough to make changes in the centralized data structure. Okay, so the other application that make use of the DTD will be automatically use the new and updated structure. What are the types? What are the types of DTD? We can have two types of DTD. Okay, we can have two types of DTD. One is internal DTD, another thing is external DTD, and also we can have both. Okay, internal as well as external in a single XML file. Okay, in a single XML file you can have both. Okay, so what is the internal? Internal means the definition. Okay, the definition, document type, XML document type definition resides within the body of a single XML document. Okay, the definition resides inside the single XML document, that is internal. We can also have a external DTD file that is referenced by the XML document. So you can have internal, we can have a external, and also you can have a both in a single XML file. Okay, we can have both internal as well as external in a single XML file. That is also possible. We will take one by one and discuss how we can write the internal DTD and how we can write the external DTD. We will see that. So an external DTD may be referenced by many documents. It is good repository for global type of definitions. So when you have an external, it's a global type of definition for the XML document. So when you have internal DTD, it's good to use for rules that only apply to specific document. So if you want to have the rules for a specific document, you can have an internal DTD. So if a document has both external and internal subsets, then what will happen? The internal rule will override the external rule. So when you have both internal and external DTD in a single file, what will happen? The internal definition will override the external DTD. So we'll see the basic syntax. We'll see the basic syntax of a DTD. So it is like this. The doc type, element, and DTD identifier. So the DTD starts with a doc type. If you look at this syntax, it starts with a doc type delimiter. Okay, this is a starting point of a DTD, and you have a element. In the syntax, you have a element that tells the parser to parse the document from the specified root element, from this root element. So this element tells the parser to parse the document from the specified root element. So here, what is the parser? Okay, what is the task of the parser? So parser is a software package. Okay, so parser is a software package, or is a library. Okay, parser is a software package or it is a library. Okay, what is the purpose of this parser? It's a package or library that provides interface for the client application to work with the XML document. That is the purpose of a parser, just to parse, just to get the data from the XML document. So the parser is a software library or a package that provides interface for the client application to work with the XML document. This parser, what will happen? This parser will also check for the proper format of a XML document and may also validate a XML document. That is the purpose of the parser. So here this element, this root element, this element in the syntax, this element tells the parser to parse the document from the specified root element. Here you have a root element. And the next item is a DTD identifier. So the DTD identifier is an identifier for the document type definition, which may be the path to the file on the system or the URL on the system or the URL to a file on the internet. So if it is a URL, it is on the internet. If the DTD is pointing to the external path, then it is called a external subset. So the square bracket, if you see here, I have a square bracket. The square bracket encloses an optional list of a entity declaration. So here you can have a entity declaration. Okay, entity declaration of the element. That is called the internal subset. This is the basic syntax of the DTD. So it should begin with a doc type followed by element, that is a root element name that tells the parser. So here you will have the root element, okay, that tells the parser to pass the document from the specified root element. Then DTD identifier, okay, it's a document type definition which may be here. The identifier may be the URL, okay, the URL on the internet, or it may be on the system, okay, it may be on the system. This is actually is the syntax. Internal DTD. Now we will see about the internal DTD. The internal DTD is contained within the document type declaration, which begins like this, within the doc type, and ends with it start with like this doc type and ends with like this. And if you see here the internal DTD, so here as we saw the syntax, the DTD should begin with the doc type. Yes, it begins with the doc type. And what is this? The next item is element. Okay, the next item is a element. What is element? Message is an element. Then here you have here actually you have the validity, how the check, the condition, okay, the rule for this message. Okay, so this is actually is a element. Okay, so doc type, this is root element. Okay, root element, and inside that, since I have only one element, this is going to be root element. Okay, message is a root element, message. So it is passed by the data in the element message is passed by the parser. So the DTD tells us that this document will have a single element. Okay, single element message. This is a single element message that will contain parsed character data. So this is actually is a DTD definition, tells the parser that it will have single element. Okay, what is the element name? Element name is message that will contain parsed character data. Let's the good time roll like that. Okay, so this is which means the XML itself you are going to have the DTD. Okay, XML file itself you are going to have the DTD definition. Right. You can also have a external DTD. Okay, you can, okay, we'll take one more example. Okay, we'll take one more example to understand how we can have. In the previous example we had only one element. Suppose if we have multiple elements in the XML file. If you look at here, and this is root element, address is root element. Okay, address is root element, and here we have the sub elements, children element like this. Okay, name, company, phone number. How these elements are validated against this DTD? Let us take. Okay, so the DTD should begin with the doc type followed by root element. What is root element? Address is root element. Then address will have the children elements like this: name, company, phone number. So what is the rule? For name is a parsed data, for the company parsed data, for the phone number is a parsed data. Parsed data means it is parsed by the parser. Okay, the data is passed by the parser. We will see the rules. We will see some of the rules in the element DTD element rule. We will discuss later. Okay, so this is the document. This is XML document. Okay, so this is actually an XML document which has a DTD and the XML. Okay, DTD and the XML document. So internal DTD. Okay, internal DTD. So the DTD declaration is here. Now we will discuss about external DTD. How we can have a external DTD. The advantage we have seen. Okay, if you want to make changes in the structure, it is enough to make changes only in the repository, external DTD file. Then it is reflected all other application which is using this external DTD. So this external DTD is in the separate file. Okay, it is in the DTD declaration will be found in the separate file. So here the system, the keyword system in the document type declaration lets us to know that the DTD is going to be found in a separate file. So in the declaration you will have a system keyword, and if you look at the example, here you have the external DTD file. External DTD file is here. The name of the file is a address DTD. What it indicates? .dtd. .dtd means is a document type definition. DTD file. It's a separate file, and this is XML file. This is a separate file. So I'm going to use this external DTD, okay, external DTD in the XML file. I'm going to use this DTD definition to validate this address XML file. So the DTD begins like this. Doc type. What is root element? Address. Okay, address is root element. Okay, address is root element. System. What it says? The system is a keyword. Tells that where the DTD definition is found, the path. Okay, the path. This is actually a complete path. Okay, complete path where the DTD is located. This address.dtd file is located. Then here you have the name, company, phone. So the name element will follow this rule, and company will take this rule, and phone number will take this rule. It's validated against. Okay, so these elements, these XML elements are validated against this DTD. So and if you look at this the page, here you have XML file, and here you have a separated DTD file, and it is referenced here. Okay, the DTD file is referenced here. The DTD file referenced is here. Now we can have both in a single document. Okay, you can have both in a single document, internal as well as external in a single XML file. What will happen? As I told you, so what will happen? The internal element will override the external DTD. So it is possible for a document type declaration to contain both external and internal DTD subsets in a single XML file. In this situation, what will happen? Internal declaration will take the highest precedence, will take the precedence over the external ones. So in other words, if both internal and external DTD define a rule for the same element, okay, rule for the same element. For example, here you have an element name, okay, in the XML file. So here you may have an internal DTD, and here also you have the definition for the declaration for a name. What will happen if you have the declaration or the definition for an element in two places? So this internal will take the precedence. Okay, so internal will take the precedence. Will have the highest prior. Will override that external definition. Okay. Right. So look at this example. So this is external DTD separate file, and this is a internal. So if the element, okay, in this external DTD is defined, and at the same time the element again is redefined here in a internal, what will happen? This internal will override the definition of a element, whatever may be the element. It may be element 1, or it may be element 2, or it may be element 3. Will override. Okay, will override the elements. Okay, will override the definition. So which means the internal DTD will take the precedence. Okay. So the structure, just to again we shall recall the structure of a DTD, document type definition. The structure, if you see the syntax, this is what we have seen. Okay, doc type is a beginning, then root element, system, public, the location, internal DTD elements. Okay, so what the exclamation says. Okay, the exclamation says, the exclamation in the syntax, okay, the exclamation mark in the syntax is used to signify the beginning of a declaration. So it is used to tell that is the beginning of a DTD. Okay. Then doc type. Okay. The next is then the syntax is a doc type. Is a keyword. Doc type is a keyword used to denote that this is a DTD definition, and followed by you have a root element. Okay, so the next part is a root element. This is to tell that this is the beginning, this is the start of a DTD. Then root element is the name of the root element or document element of the XML document. This is the root element in the XML. Okay, root element in the XML file. Okay, root element in the XML file. Then you have two keywords, system and public, are keywords used to designate that the DTD is contained in a external document. Okay, DTD is contained in a external document. So the system keyword is used with the URL to locate the DTD. Okay, so you can have the DTD in two places. You can have it in a local system, or you can have it in a public. Okay, which means the external DTD is found in the application specific resource references. Okay, so it is in the public location. So if it is in the system, in the system you can have a keyword system. The public keyword specifies some public location that will be used. There will usually be some application specific resource references. Internal DTD elements are internal DTD declaration. So if you see here the next part. So what is this system? The URL. Public. Okay, public URL or the system URL. DTD location where the DTD definition is found. Okay, DTD definition is found. That is the location has to be given. Then the internal DTD elements. Okay, so this declaration will always be placed with a opening and the closing brackets. Okay, opening and the closing bracket. So like this. So it will be like this element. So this is the syntax. Okay. Now we will discuss about the DTD elements. Okay. So what is element? The XML document can have elements, attributes, the entity references. That's what we have seen. So DTD elements, all elements in a valid XML are defined with an element declaration in the DTD. Look at this. All elements in a valid XML document are defined. That is, all the elements in the XML document are defined with an element declaration in the DTD. So we know that DTD are used to validate the XML. Okay, so XML will have the element. The elements, the XML documents are defined with an element declaration in the DTD. An element declaration defines the name and allowed content of an element. So the element declaration in the DTD, I am talking about the DTD. Okay, in the DTD you have element declaration part. What is the purpose? To define the name and allowed content of an element. So the name, the rule we know, the element name must start with a letter or underscore and may contain any combination of letters, numbers, underscores, dashes and periods. That is the element name. Okay, so how we can use that? The syntax for DTD elements. Okay, the syntax for DTD elements. So this is actually a keyword followed by the element rule. So element here, the element is the tag name that specifies that this is the element definition. Okay, element definition. So element name is the name of the element. Okay, element name is the name of the element in the XML file. And rule is the definition to which the element's data content must follow. Okay, so this rule tells how the element will take the data, the content. What is the content of this element in the XML file? So this is the syntax of a element. So when you use element Elements. So look at this. Here element is a keyword, and this is actually is a root element in the XML file. Okay, root element in the XML file, and it will have the children element like this: phone, email, address, and full name. And each element, full name, address, phone, email, will take this rule. And if you look at this element, this full name element will take this past character data, and another element. Okay, this is element. It can have a sub elements like this: address line 1, address line 2, and this address line 1 will take this type of data, and address line will take a past character, and of course phone number will take a past character, and email will have a past character. So when you look at the XML file, okay, so this is actually is a DTD. What is root element? Contact list, and the sub elements are a full name, address. Again, address can have a sub element, children elements, then phone number, email. And if you look at this, and if you look at the XML file, okay, this is DTD, external DTD XML file. So in this is the starting of a document type, and this is a root element. Okay, root element. This is actually a root element. It ends here. Root element, contact list. System tells that where the DTD is found. Okay, system. You can also have a public. Okay, public. Okay, you can also have public where the DTD is available. Okay, so that is from the public place. Public in it or specific application where the DTD is defined. So here the DTD is here in the local system. The URL has to be given here. Okay, if it is in the local system, the complete path has to be given, the URL. So this will take this root element will take the rule, will take the DTD definition in the contact list DTD. So if you look at this is full name. Full name will have a parsed data. Okay, parsed data. And here you have a address. Okay, here you have a address. It will have two children, address line 1 and address line 2. So here you have a address line 1 and address line 2. It ends here. Then you have a two more. Okay, phone and email address. Phone and email address will take a past character data. This is how you can validate this XML file against the DTD. Okay, against the DTD. So here I am going to refer the external DTD. Okay, external DTD. So this is how the elements are defined. Elements in the XML files are defined with the help of elements. Then when you use elements, okay, when you use elements, so the types of DTD element rule, okay, so the data contained in the element must follow a set rule. Okay, data in the element must follow set rule. So there are two basic types of rules. that the elements must fall into. One is rules deals with the content, and the rules deals with the structure. Okay, so one is dealing with the content, the other one is dealing with the structure. Okay, so what is the element rule? All data contained in element must follow set of rules. What is the rule? One is a content rule, another one is the structure rule. So what is content rule? The content rules for element deals with the actual data that defined elements may contain. So the content rule for element deal with the actual data that defined elements may contain. So it defines what the element will take. Okay, that is a content rule. What type of a content the element will take. So we have three rules. One is any rule, empty rule, then PC data, and also we have one more rule is there, that is a C data. Okay, that is a C data. What is any rule? Okay, any rule, empty rule, PC data and C data. Okay, what is any rule in the element? So the element may contain other elements or normal character data. Okay, the syntax. Okay, syntax. This is keyword. Element is a keyword. Element name. This defines the element, that content, the content the element could take. Okay, the element could take the content. What type of content? The element can take any data. Okay, any data. So when you give the rule any, what will happen? What will happen? This is the rule that is so wide open that defeats the purpose of validation. And we use DTD for validating the XML file. So when you say the XML element can take any data, that actually is that defeats the purpose. That oversees the purpose. That defeats the purpose, violates the rule. So anyway, we can also have that the DTD that defines all elements using any rule will always be valid as long as XML is well formed. This is really prevents any effective validation. So when you put any means, we are not bothered about the validation. So it accepts, the element accepts any data. So for example, so element is a keyword, node is element name, any, which means the element node can take the content of this element maybe anytime. Okay, that is a any rule. The element can also have a empty rule. The element can also follow empty rule. This rule is the exact opposite of any rule. Okay, any means it can have any data. Empty means nothing is there. Okay, so an element is defined with this rule will contain no data. The element will not have any data. So however, an element with the empty rule could still contain attribute. Okay, so element which contains empty rule can have attributes. Okay, the element is empty, but it can have attributes. So the syntax is this: element, that is a keyword, element name, then rule name, empty. For example, so here the DTD starts here. This is root element. Okay, this is root element, and inside that you have one element, that is address, and that element is empty. Okay, address is empty element, and if you look at this element, there is no close tag for this. Okay, there is no empty tag for this. So this is actually is a empty element. Okay, empty element. The empty element, the purpose why we need to have the empty rule. The empty rule might be used to define empty elements that contain diagnostic information for a processing of data. Suppose any problems are there in processing the data, that could be recorded with the help of a empty element. And also these empty elements can be used to hold metadata describing the content of a XML document for indexing purpose. You can also use the empty element to hold metadata, and the empty element to provide clues for application that will render the data for viewing. So that is the purpose of having empty elements. Okay, then the third rule is PC data. Okay, third rule is PC data. So this PC data rule indicates that past character data will be contained in the element. So the character, the element can have, or the element data will be passed by the parser. So the past character data is a data that may contain a normal markup and will be interpreted and passed by any XML parser accessing the document. That means any data for the element which is of PC data will be passed by the XML parser. What is the syntax? Element name, then PC data. So the element data content can be parsed by the parser. So this is read by the parser. This is processed by the XML parser. Okay. Then as I told you, we can also have a C data. Okay, C data. So all the data between, okay, all the data between C data, okay, all the data between so the C data and this close tag, okay, will be ignored by the parser, and it is treated as a normal characters. Okay, so whatever the data, whatever the content is in between C data will be ignored by the parser. XML parser will not parse that, it will be ignored by the XML parser. That is a C data. So the rules, so far what we have seen, the rules deals with the content. Okay, any, empty, PC data and C data. Then the rules that deals with the structure. Okay, so the content rule deals with the actual content, and the structure rules deals with the how the data may be organized. Okay, how the data may be organized. So we are going to give data for the elements, how the data can be organized. So there are two types of structure rules. One is element only, the next rule is a mixed rule. Okay, element only and a mixed rule. What is a element only rule? The element only rule specifies that only element may appear as a children of a current element. Listen, only elements may appear as children. Okay, so if you look at here, element, this is root element, this root element will have only the element as a children. Okay, this element will have only element as children. Okay, that is why it is a element only. Okay, element only. So we can structure this XML elements with the help of a structure rule. And if you want this element 1, 2 or 3 to be optional, you need to use a pipe symbol. Okay, element. So if you want this element or this element to be optional, you can use a pipe symbol. So this element rule only, okay, element rule only specifies that only elements may appear. So the child element sequence should be separated by comma. So if you look at it here, it is separated by comma. Okay, the children elements are separated by comma. If there are to be options, okay, so if elements 1 or 2 or 3 are options, that it has to be separated by pipe symbol. Okay, the listed element should be separated by pipe symbol. If the data for this element to be optional, you need to give the pipe symbol. That is the first rule, element rule only. Then the second rule, that is mixed rule. The mixed rule is used to help to define elements that may have both character data and child element. Look at this mixed rule. It can have a character data plus child element it can have. Okay, that is why it is mixed. Okay, character data as well as a child element. And if you look at the example here, this is an element. It will have the character data, okay, as well as the children element like this. Okay, that is why it is a mixed element. So a list of options or sequential list will be enclosed by parentheses. Okay, so like this, list of options are enclosed by parentheses. Options will be separated by the pipe symbol. If this is optional or the element is optional, that has to be separated by pipe symbol. What it means? Character is optional. The value that you give for this element is optional. Character is optional. Element is optional. Also optional. Element is also optional. The children element of this element is also optional. Like this, you can have a mixed. Mixed means here you have a character and a element. Okay, children element you have. That's why it is a mixed rule. So the rule for mixed content model are similar to the element content. Okay. So we'll take one example to understand how we can have this mixed rule. So look at this element. What is this? This is actually a root element. This element can have a data, and the elements also can have a children. Okay. And if you look at this first structure, XML structure, XML5. This is actually XML5. First data of a son. So son can have the past character data, and this is optional. Okay, this is optional. Okay, optional. Pipe symbol indicates that are optional. Then also this son, this root element can have a past character as well as it can have a children. Okay, it can have children like this, name and age for this element, son element. This is actually a mixed rule. Okay, mixed rule. Okay, mixed rule. So, and if you see here, there is a symbol. What it says? Okay, what it says that we will discuss. What are the symbols that we can use in the element in the next class? Okay, so with this I will stop. Today we have discussed about the DTD. Okay, so what is DTD? The DTD defines the structure and the legal element and attributes of an XML document. Okay, it defines the structure of a XML document. Okay, so then the types of DTD we have seen. There are two types. One is a internal and a external DTD. And the structure of DTD, the syntax we have seen. Okay, the string syntax we have seen, and the type of a DTD elements we have seen. Okay, so the type of DTD elements like a content rule and the structure rule we have seen. Okay, with this I will stop. And one information, I have given the assignment based on the previous video lesson. I have given assignment. Kindly prepare the answers for that assignment and send it to me. Okay, so in the next class we will discuss about the element symbols. What are the symbols that we can use in the element that we will discuss. So the PPT is already uploaded in the Moodle. You can download and you can refer it. So thank you. We will see you in the next class.